and I'm talking about Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. They're all things that we can get passed in the House. It's not a pie in the sky promise that, oh yeah, we're going to promise to shrink government. Well, nobody ever tells you how they're going to do that. It's always this great big goal that nobody has built a roadmap for. All of these are well-researched goals that have an end to them. Building those relationships, just like I do in committees, is key in order to getting something passed. You have to get a consensus, and you have to build a relationship. You have to go around and get people like-minded, Louis Gohmert, and people like that very good conservatives that have a lot of legislative history. How do you maintain your goal of not being corrupted, as you said? Phil Gramm said after 12 years they get infected when they're up there, which is an interesting comment. But I think that it's your core values are what do that for you. Knowing where you stand. I'm not going to Congress because I want to be a congressman. I'm going because I want to get something done. This was not my this was not my thesis in high school that I always wanted to be a congressman so that I could have a seat at the table. That's not what I'm going there for. And I think we need leaders that are there for that reason, to get things done. I want results. I want to improve the government and get out of it. I don't want to stay there forever. It's not my goal at all. It's not my interest.
Do you have any plan to deal with the largest entitlement, Social Security, Medicare entitlement, how to keep it
Solvent?
Keep it solvent and or transmute it into something that'll work?
Absolutely. I've actually been studying a really great proposal that's been put on the table by several groups. The Heritage Foundation is one of the ones that's dealing with it. It's an excellent solution to the problem. It's actually, we're going to maintain the benefits for people that are currently on it. And starting, we have to pick a number somewhere in there, but starting about age 55, we're going to do an opt-in policy. And that means that 50% of your withholding you have control of. It's your money, and you have control, and it goes into a retirement account that you control. You get to pick where it's invested, 50%. Okay, the calculation remains the same for everybody, so that your entitlement would, when you retire, is going to be the same from Social Security, but it's a match. Social Security guarantees up to 50% to begin with, and then after that, your investment account will provide the other 50%. If your investment account falls through, if you only come up with 25%, the Social Security fund funds the other 25% to get you to 100%. But if your retirement investment account that you've been able to have control of, if you get 150%, you get to keep it. It's yours. That way, the only thing the government is responsible for is making up the difference. It's one way to get us to solvency. It's a great program, and it's an opt-in. It can be an option. It's a way to get us towards solvency, because it doesn't put the government on the hook for so many, especially the baby boomers that are coming up there, they're coming to retirement. They're just going to absolutely bankrupt the system, especially with where we're at now.
Can I follow you on that question? That's a question you want.
Yeah.
So of the 20 or so powers given to the federal government through the Constitution, which one of those 20 would fall under the justifying enabling Social Security?
Enabling Social Security? Well, the Congress has the ability to make laws. Okay, the Constitution does not provide for the Social Security, and it says promote the welfare, not provide the welfare, which is an interesting distinction. I think it's important, the words used. Here's the problem. This is just like the situation with Medicare. Everybody's talking about the death panels with the health care bill and everything like that, but a lot of people say, well, it's not constitutional anyway. I've heard conservatives say it's not constitutional anyway, so we should cut them all off. Well, that's effectively a death sentence for everybody that's relying on Medicare. So we have to move the agenda back to constitutionalism, but just cutting everybody off at the knees and saying, oh, you're on your own, even though they've been promised that for 50 years, whether it's constitutional or not. We need to find a way to privatize it, and this is a step in the right direction. If we could privatize it entirely, say no withholding whatsoever, actually there's a great solution that's been proposed to get taxes down that way. It's a tax stimulus that requires no government money, and in fact would put a lot more money back in people's pockets to cut the withholding. But we have to work our way back towards that, and I think that's a good step in the right direction. It's not the end game but it is a good step in the right direction to help privatize it, show how well it works, and use that as an example for why we can privatize the rest of it, and say, look, now the government's not responsible for anything, and you're responsible for your own retirement.
Here.
On questions 4, 5, and I guess 12, 13 to some extent, you indicate that you would support constitutional amendments for abortion, marriage, and 13 is really abortion.
Would you like
Yes.
a copy of your answer?
No, I don't.
As a federal congressman, what gives you the right to legislate where life begins, where marriage begins?
These are important. Normally on something like this, I'd say on so many issues, I'd say we don't need an amendment. It's up to the states to decide. With things like this, just like gay marriage and abortion, things like that, is the fact that every state is required to accept the policies of the other states. And therefore, if we allow gay marriage in one state, then the other states have to validate that marriage is legal when somebody moves to another state. According to the Constitution, that's the way it's set up. So I think a federal amendment is appropriate in this case. Just like abortion, I think that there's so many issues surrounding abortion, whether from the moral aspect and from the scientific aspect and everything else in between. The decision in Roe v. Wade actually stated what they call a compelling event. When they made their decision states two compelling events. One was traditionally the quickening, or the first movement of the baby, and the second was viability, and it was all based on science and history. Well, history has shown us that science finds new things, and our viability is moving further and further back. We have viable babies earlier and earlier on, and to my mind, there's no way that you can ever draw a line except at conception. If there's as a scientist myself, as somebody who studied biology and chemistry and organic chemistry quite a bit, when science is arguing whether or not a virus is a life, they can turn around at the same time and tell me that a baby in the womb is not a life, even though it has human DNA and it cannot survive outside the womb, but neither can a lot of other life forms. They can't survive outside of a certain environment. We can't survive outside of our own environment on planet Earth. So there's no logical explanation for any of that.
Excuse me, Scott, just by that same principle, where do you draw the line on the enumerated powers of the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8?
Article 1, Section 8, the enumerated powers of the Constitution are exactly that. They're the enumerated powers, and that's what we need to get back towards. We have to get there, but we have to have a roadmap. It's just, there's too, I think that there's too many people that stand in the corner and shout no, no, and we never get anywhere because everybody else is making progress. I think we need to make progress in the other direction, and we have to do that. It took us a long time to get where we are with an overbearing government and an overreaching government. We need to get back to the Constitution. It's going to take us a little time to get there, but we have to make progress. Somebody has to actually take the steps to get us there. I know.
Time for one more question.
On the questionnaire, you say that you are for impeaching judges that use judicial activism to legislate from the bench, and we all know the importance of the kind of judges that we put in office, at least I hope we all know, in this room anyway. So my question is, how would you go about impeaching a judge who is using judicial activism? And could you please at least give 2 examples of judicial activism so people can understand that? Because if you're just one person in Congress, how are you personally going to, or you know what?
Well, I'm all for dumping the Ninth Court of Appeals, and Congress has the authority to do that. The only court that is called for the Constitution is the Supreme Court, and we even can control what they do and how they do it. I don't know if I have enough time to cover all of your question, but the Judicial Act of 1802, I believe, when Jefferson got rid of all of the, more than half, I think it was 18 of 35 sitting judges, they just did away with the job, and therefore they had to get rid of the judges, which I think was a very good thing to do. I think we have the potential to do so now. I mean, Roe v. Wade, I think, was judicial activism. That, they basically legislated for everybody. A lot of these decisions that have come out about illegal aliens, I think that the decision to let people, to allow children that are born here to illegal immigrants when they have no other reason to be here, I think that that's wrong. I think that they're not citizens. They're citizens of their home country. They are not citizens
So
of their
what
home
steps
country.
did you take to fix that judge?
Sorry, I'm ready to talk.
And if people want to get more of your opinions, is there a website?
Yes, Scott Maker for Congress. All one word. Be happy to answer.
Much better than the previous guy.